I'm going to do something you haven't seen me do a lot of, which is to formally announce our guest today. As I announced last week at our morning assembly, Kingswood-Oxford is celebrating its first 100 years of creative engagement with the Centennial Playwriting competition sponsored by the Goodman Banks Visiting Artists Series. The competition is open to the entire community, including middle and upper school students, along with their parents, the faculty, and all of the alumni of our school. Middle school, high school, and adult playwrights will compete in their own divisions. There are 3 categories of one-act play: a 100-word play, a 100-line play, and a play that covers 100 years in less than 10 minutes. And I hope that many of you will try your hand at this competition. I'm even thinking about it myself, and I haven't written even a skit in many, many, many years. To help us launch and judge this competition, we have asked Elizabeth Egloff, an Oxford alum class of 1971 and an award-winning playwright, to join us today. After graduating from the Oxford School, Ms. Egloff headed to Trinity College with the ambition to become an opera singer. Interested not only in music, but also in theater and poetry when she arrived at Trinity, Ms. Egloff soon found that her real passion was writing. This passion became a, quote, permanent obsession, unquote, while she was an undergraduate working as an editor of the Trinity Review. Although Ms. Egloff was not drawn to playwriting at that point, she developed a lifelong friendship with a professor of English and poet, Hugh Ogden, who encouraged and helped her to, quote, find her own voice, unquote, as a writer. After leaving Trinity, Ms. Egloff worked in publishing in Boston before further developing her talents in a playwriting and poetry program at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. It wasn't until she spent a brief time in New York writing for the popular soap opera, well, maybe not popular with you, but certainly with my generation, Search for Tomorrow, our parents, I caught the tail end of it, I admit, that she began to seriously consider writing a play. She returned to Boston in 1983 to teach screenwriting part-time at Emerson College, at which point she saw the possibility of, quote, a distinctly female voice in the theater, unquote, and believed she was ready for the challenge of the Yale School of Drama in New Haven. Following her graduation from Yale in 1989, Ms. Egloff had plays produced initially in Louisville and San Francisco, and later in regional theaters from Baltimore to Honolulu. Her plays include Community of Heaven, The Devils, The Swan, and Phaedra, among others. Her stage work has been the recipient of the Oppenheimer Award, the Kesserin Prize, the Weisberger Award, and the Lila Wallace Award. Recently, she received Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and Emmy nominations for her controversial screenplay, The Reagans. Currently, Ms. Egloff is writing a play entitled The Ether Dome, commissioned by Hartford Stage Company. She is married to set designer Jim Humans, and they have 2 children, one of whom is in middle school. Ms. Egloff is here today to share some of her own experiences and wisdom as a playwright, and to offer some thoughts on how to go about writing your own one-act for the Centennial Play Competition. Please join with me now in welcoming Ms. Egloff to the stage.
Hello, everybody. It is ironic and surprising to find myself back in the school that so tortured me for several years when I was your age, but that was everything to my education and has really become the foundation of everything I've done as a writer. Not in the sense of experiences, but in the sense of how I attack writing. And one of the things that has actually brought me here today is that I think it was Lud Baldwin who heard that I was going to be writing a play for Hartford Stage. And Hartford Stage wanted me to write a play about the discovery of ether as an anesthesia gas. And you guys might have heard of ether. Anybody heard of ether? Ether, some people. Ether is a gas It's a natural gas, and when a few years ago, when you had your tonsils out, they gave you ether on the operating table and to put you to sleep, and that was how you had your painless operation. Well, until 1847, there was no ether, there was nothing. They would just say, open wide, and you would have your operation. And it was very painful, as you can imagine. So there came along in 1847 a man who realized that ether, which until that time was a party drug, could actually be used for surgery. And in attempting to prove it as medical anesthesia, he and two other men destroyed themselves in the battle over credit. And all three men ended up really either killing themselves or going mad in the battle over ether. So what you're going to be asked to do, what I'm asking you to do in the next few months, is to do the same thing with your own past. No, it's to do. What we're going to do this year is we're looking at 100 years of Kingswood and Oxford. And we're going to look at what we know about the past, which for most of us is nothing. We're going to construct what we know, what we imagine is the past, and we're going to write something about it. And it may come out to be a poem or a short story or whatever. In this particular challenge, we're going to be looking at plays. Has anybody in here ever written a play? Ever written a play? A few people? A few brave people? Great, great. You'll be amazed how easy it is once you get over feeling silly, hearing yourself talk to yourself as you're writing the play. So first I'm going to start out with the fantasy of the history of Oxford and Kingswood. So here we have my little constructed thing. So first we're going to start with one of these photographs. All of these photographs have been culled from different yearbooks. They go back to, the yearbooks actually go back to 1909, but only some of them could be found from 1924 on. This is a picture of, it comes from a page with a lot of little pictures on it, so you see little fragments. All right, so yeah, here we are in this sort of opening these pages in these dusty albums, trying to figure out what kind of school this is. So far we have the theme of Harry Potter teachers doing crazy things, students either escaping or and who knows how high this pole is. That is the structure of your play, you guys. You have a beginning with this photograph. You found out what had just happened. In the middle, something happened. And then at the end, something happened. That is play. There you go.
Called cooking.